The wind out here carries a kind of silence you can't buy or bury. It moves slow across the plains, whispering through dry grass and broken fences, carrying the weight of every man who ever tried to tame this land and lost a piece of himself doing it. Most evenings I sit on the porch of what used to be my father's ranch. The boards creak under my boots, the sky burns itself down to ash and gold, and the horizon feels like a wound that never quite closes. Folks say I've done all right for myself, but the truth is I traded more than I ever earned. See, I wasn't always alone out here. Once there was a winter so mean it took the breath out of cattle and men alike. That's when I met her, Eleanor Wade. She was just a girl then, but with a fire behind her eyes that could melt the ice on a trough. 3 little ones clung to her like they knew the world would blow 'em apart if they ever let go. They were standing by the side of the trail, trying to fix a busted wagon wheel with a crowbar and prayer. I've been riding fence all day, looking for strays when I saw her shoulders tremble from the cold. Didn't think twice, just pulled up, tipped my hat, and said the words that had changed my life. All 4 of you. Get in. Eleanor hesitated. Pride's a heavy thing when you ain't got much else left. I could see her weighing it, the mercy of a stranger against the shame of needing one. Then the littlest girl started coughing, and that was it. They climbed in, one by one, and my wagon suddenly didn't feel so empty no more. I remember the way the snow hissed against the canvas top, the sound of the horses breathing steam into the night. She sat quiet for the first mile, then whispered a thank you so soft I almost thought I imagined it. I didn't answer right away. Didn't need to. Some kindness don't ask for payment. It just needs a place to land. We made it to the ranch by dark. I stoked the fire high, cooked what little stew I had, and watched those kids fall asleep by the hearth like they'd been there all their lives. Eleanor sat a while longer, her eyes flickering between the flames and the storm outside. You don't even know us, she said. I smiled, though I don't reckon she saw it. Don't have to, I told her. You look like folks who've been fighting too long to quit now. That night, as the wind howled through the cracks and the fire burned low, I felt something stir deep in my chest. Not love yet, not hope, just a faint memory of both. I hadn't prayed in years, but I found myself thanking the good Lord for 4 strangers asleep under my roof. Maybe it was the first time I realized a home ain't made of land or blood. It's made of who you're willing to shelter when the cold comes knocking. Winter stretched on like an old song with too many verses. The snow-buried fences froze rivers and turned men quiet. Inside those walls, though, something warm began to take root. Slow, uncertain, but steady as dawn. Eleanor kept that little house alive with nothing but grit and soft hands. Every morning before light, she'd start the stove, patch the holes in the boys' coats, and whisper to the youngest one till his cough eased up. I'd never seen courage so small or so fierce. Most nights, after chores, we'd sit by the fire. The kids would sleep close together, their breath puffing soft like kittens, and she'd mend old shirts with the kind of care most folks reserve for holy things. Sometimes she'd hum, low, almost shy, songs her mother used to sing back in Missouri. I reckon that sound stitched something back together inside me. Her laughter came slow in those days, like she had to remember how to do it. But when it came, soft, sudden, breaking through the silence, I swear the house itself seemed to breathe again. I started finding reasons to stay longer by the porch or chop more wood than we needed. Told myself it was to keep the place warm, but the truth was simpler. I liked hearing her voice call my name through the smoke. Then spring tried to push its way back, and with it came trouble. My father's men rode up one cold morning, their coats fine and clean as money. Foreman Peeton tipped his hat, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Barrett Merrick's claim extends past this ridge, he said, unfolding papers that smelled of ink and arrogance. This cabin sits on Merrick land. Miss Wade's got 60 days to vacate or sell. Eleanor's face went pale, but her chin lifted. My father filed that claim fair and proper before he died, she said. Peyton shrugged. Maybe, but the law's about what's written, not what's right. I felt my stomach twist. That old Merrick name still had its claws in me, no matter how far I tried to ride from it. My father built his empire buying folks out when they were too tired to fight back. I'd spent my life watching him turn men's pride into signatures. After they rode off, I saw Eleanor stand in the doorway, the wind pulling her hair loose. I won't let him take this from us, she said. I nodded, though I wasn't sure how I'd make good on that promise yet. Then you ain't gonna fight him alone. That night, when everyone slept, I sat by the cold stove, staring at those papers. The Merrick seal gleamed red in the lamplight, a mark of blood and inheritance. My father's world and mine, colliding again like they always would. I thought about the boy I used to be, the one who swore he'd never take another man's side over his own blood. But there in that silence, I understood something I'd never dared before. Blood ain't loyalty. Choice is. And come sunrise, I knew which side I'd chosen. By the time the thaw came, the fight had already begun. My father sent word through the county. Eleanor Wade was to be evicted, and the Merrick estate would reclaim the land for lawful expansion. Those words felt colder than the river ice that still clung to the banks. Eleanor wouldn't cry, not once. She worked the soil, repaired the fence, and kept those young'uns fed like nothing had changed. But at night, when she thought I was sleeping, I'd hear her whisper prayers, so quiet, even God had to lean close to catch 'em. I rode into town that next day, walked into Judge Morrison's office and laid down my name like a man casting off his own shadow. Cole Merrick, I said, but I ain't speaking for that house no more. The judge looked up slow, his brows drawn. Then who do you speak for, son? For the woman your law forgot. He studied me a long while, then nodded once. That's a mighty steep hill you're climbing. I've been riding steep all my life. We gathered what proof we could. Eleanor's father's old deeds, the witness of neighbors, and the calloused truth of her hands. Sarah Mitchell, a newspaper woman from Helena, caught wind of it. She printed our story on the front page. Rancher's son stands against his father's empire. That headline traveled faster than wildfire. By the time the hearing came, the courthouse was packed. Farmers, widows, drifters, all staring to see if justice still had a heartbeat in this country. My father stood there in his black coat, his eyes sharp as barbed wire. You turn your back on your own blood, he said, quiet but burning. I'd rather turn my back on you than on what's right. He didn't flinch. Men like him don't show pain. They forge it into armor. But for the first time, I saw the crack behind his pride, loneliness shaped like power. Eleanor stood tall beside me, her hands steady, though I could feel the tremor in her breath. When she spoke, the room fell still. "My father's bones are buried under that soil," she said. "He died building a home, not begging for permission. You can't buy what's already been paid for with love and sweat." There wasn't a dry eye in the place, not even mine. When the judge finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of both mercy and the law. "The intent of the Homestead Act," he said, "was to give honest people a fair chance. Mrs. Wade has earned hers." The gavel struck. Eleanor's claim was upheld. My father didn't wait to hear the rest. He turned, his boots echoing against the floor, leaving behind more than just the fight. He left behind the last piece of the boy I used to be. Outside, the crowd cheered, hats lifted high, and the sky broke open with sunlight for the first time in weeks. Eleanor looked at me, her eyes full of tears she didn't let fall. "What happens now?" she asked. I took her hand, rough and warm from work. "Now," I said, "we build something that lasts." And as the wind swept through the valley, I felt the past ease its grip, like a ghost finally laying itself to rest. The days that followed were quieter, but not empty. The land seemed to breathe again, the soil soft underfoot, the streams running clean with meltwater. The ranch that once belonged to my father stood like a shadow on the ridge, watching us from afar. But for the first time, I didn't feel small beneath it. Eleanor's laughter began to come easier. The kids built a pen for the new calves, painted the old barn door red, and filled the air with the kind of noise only peace can make. Every hammer strike, every creak of new boards felt like an answer to a prayer I hadn't known I'd been saying. I wrote my father a letter that spring. No blame, no anger, just the truth. I told him the land was better off in hands that tended it with love, not ledger books. Weeks passed without reply, and I made peace with that. Some men take longer to find forgiveness than others. Then one evening, I saw a lone rider coming down the trail. He was older, slower in the saddle, but I'd have known that posture anywhere. My father dismounted, his coat heavy with dust and regret. "I thought you'd hate me for what I did," he said. "I did," I answered, "but hate's just a rope that ties a man to the past." He nodded, eyes fixed on the ground. "You found something here, son. Something I lost a long time ago." We stood in silence a while, the wind filling the space where words didn't fit. Before he rode off, he handed me a small pouch of coins, the last remnant of the Merrick fortune. "For the kids," he said, "let 'em grow up knowing what a home feels like." After he was gone, I sat on the porch till the stars came out. Eleanor brought me coffee, her hand brushing mine. "You all right?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, looking at the dark line of the hills. "It feels like I finally came home." That night, I dreamed of building fences not to keep folks out, but to mark where love had taken root. The world outside still held its storms, but they didn't scare me no more. The next morning, the kids came running out, chasing the sunrise with bare feet and laughter. Eleanor called after them, her hair catching the light, and I swear I'd never seen anything holier than that sight. Maybe redemption ain't a sermon or a sign from heaven. Maybe it's just a woman mending shirts by lamplight and a man learning to stay when he used to run. And when she turned to me with that quiet smile, I knew I didn't just save her that winter. She saved me right back. Years have rolled by like dust on the trail. The house we built still stands, leaning a little, creaking when the wind pushes through, but strong enough to hold every laugh, every tear that ever filled it. The children ain't children no more. Thomas runs the north pasture. Margaret teaches down in the valley schoolhouse. And little Samuel, he's got his own herd now. Stubborn as his mama and twice as kind. Eleanor's hair has turned silver, soft as moonlight. She still hums in the kitchen while the biscuits rise. Same tune she sang that first winter. Sometimes, when the evening gets real still, I'll sit on that old porch and listen, and it feels like time itself stops to rest beside me. My father's gone now. They buried him up on the ridge, under the cottonwoods, where he used to watch the herds. Before he passed, he sent word he wanted no grand marker, just the name Barrett Merrick carved into stone, and a single line below it. He learned too late, but he learned. I reckon that's enough for any man. Every so often, strangers still ride by and ask if I'm the rancher who once took in 4 wanderers during the coldest winter Montana ever saw. I smile, tip my hat, and tell them, no, sir. They took me in. At night, when the fire's low and the stars are hanging heavy over the plains, I think back to that moment. Her shivering in the snow, 3 little ones clutching her skirt, and me saying the words that started it all. All for you. Get in. Funny thing, how a few words can build a whole life. I used to believe the land was what made a man. His acres, his brand, his name. But I learned better. The land just holds you a while. It's love that roots you. Now, when the wind crosses these fields, I can almost hear it whisper through the grass, the laughter of children, the rustle of her dress, the soft sound of peace settling in. And maybe that's what all of us old cowboys are riding toward in the end. Not glory, not revenge, not even redemption. Just quiet. The kind that feels like forgiveness. The kind that feels like home. And maybe love ain't about holding on. It's about learning to let go gentle.